Hello, and welcome to this session on community mapping, which can be the missing link within communities, helping communities to be more connected, more resilient, helping people to find the help and support that they need. So we've got our slides up on the screen. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jaki King. I'm the CEO and founder of If Everyone Cares CIC. And we have 13 years experience in community mapping. We launched our first community map in the January of 2016 after having done an incredible amount of conversational research. We started with the people in communities and what they needed and what they felt was missing that would help them to feel more supported and more connected and to discover the things that were there for them in their community. I'll tell you more about this as we go through the presentation. So I'm Jackie, and I'd like to introduce you to aDoddle, who is my support. aDoddle, would you like to say hello?
Hello there. Yes, good morning. I'm aDoddle. I've been supporting Jackie through aDoddle for the last 6 months. I'll be working behind the scenes this morning, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat and we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thanks ever so much, aDoddle. So when aDoddle says that she's my support, she really is. I'm dyslexic, and so when it comes to the Q&A, aDoddle will read those out for me. So she'll be keeping an eye on the chat. So please do feel free to put any questions in the chat or in the Q&A section. And if you would like to come up onto the stage and ask the question, you are welcome to. And down at the bottom of your screen where there are reactions, there is a bit where you can raise your hand to be invited to the stage. At the end of the session, there is time for a Q&A, but also after that, we have a virtual lounge. So when the session finishes, if there's a question you want to ask, but not when it's recorded, you can come out and join us on one of the virtual tables in the virtual lounge and ask questions face to face there. So please do feel free to do that. If you could possibly share in the chat whereabouts you are in the country, is there a specific reason for your interest in community map? Please do feel free. It would be lovely to get to know you a little bit more. And if there's something specific you want to know, please do ask, because how we've built everything with the community mapping that we do is based on people asking questions. And I don't mind being gently challenged if you think there's something that we've missed or we haven't taken into account. That's how we learn, and that's how we make this even better. A little bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded. The questions that you ask in the side panel are not being shown. If you want your question to be anonymous and for us not to mention your name, please put anonymous at the beginning of it, and then we won't read out your name. So it is being recorded. Health and safety, if a fire alarm goes off where you are, then please take notice of it, because we have no control of that. And as far as we're aware from our end, there's nothing happening here. We're using AirMeet. And as I said, AirMeet has a virtual lounge where you can come into after the session and ask any questions as well. And you can ask questions during the session. At the end of the session, we'll share contact details. And if you would like a copy of the slides that we've used this morning, then please do get in contact, and I'll happily share them, because we're going to share on some of the screens. They might look a bit full, but we'll show you personas. So based on stories that we've heard from people who've used the maps in different ways, just to give you an idea. So we live in a digital world where we can find everything at the touch of the button, or do we? If we go to a search engine and we don't put in the right terminology, then we only see what the search engine thinks we want to see. And that's incredibly frustrating. You can actually miss the key things that you want or that you need. So let's give you a little bit of information about, who, the why, and the what. So back in 2010, I was a trainer helping people who'd been out of work long term due to illness and disability. And my role was to help them rediscover their confidence and self-esteem so that they could move back into work. And I adored my job until one day I was told by one of my managers that a number of my clients were no-hopers. Well, nobody's a no-hoper. And the one thing that I had seen was that for every client that I saw, had they been able to find and access the help and support that existed in their community through local community organisations, charities, connecting with others and not being isolated, they would not have got to such a stage of crisis. They had slipped through the cracks. So I was very privileged at the time. I had a little bit of savings and my first grandchild had been born. So I decided to quit my job very unrealistically and find a way to help people find help and support when they needed it. Because it seemed crazy that you could go to Google Maps, which had at that stage been launched, find a hotel or restaurant virtually anywhere in the world and make an informed decision. Yet you couldn't do the same when it came to connecting with people and places and opportunities and resources in your own community. In 2012, we put the idea of creating an interactive community map into the global Sir Richard Branson and Virgin Unite challenge to screw business as usual. And over a 4-month period, the idea of this map was voted third by people from around the world. And we had people from other countries telling us that when we had done this in the UK, they would like to have it in their countries as well. So I think I've just gone past one. There's a hidden power within every community that we're in, and that is the community groups and organisations that exist. So some facts and figures to think about. So in 2016, and I realise that's a while ago, the Eden Project communities produced a report that showed that disconnected communities were costing the country £32 billion a year. In the same year, the Joseph Frowntree Foundation did a report on the cost of poverty, £78 billion a year. There are over 150,000 charities and hundreds of thousands more of community groups, organisations, and places where people can connect. And at the same time, there are increased levels of suicide, loneliness, and food poverty within our communities, all of which can be helped by people being empowered to find the information themselves. So how did we do what we've done? We started with simple conversations with the people in the communities first. We listened, we heard, we listened again. We launched our first map in January of 2016, and since then, we have become the UK's first network of connected area-based community maps. We have 100 area-based community maps across the UK. Some have lots of pinpoints on them, and some don't have very many yet. We've carried on iterating. At the start of the pandemic, we had already tested having an area-based community map. In fact, we tested with 3 pilot projects. We decided that we would rebuild our platform, and this is how we've now got to the fact that we've got 100 area-based maps. We also have other maps that are dropped into websites. So we've worked with West Berkshire Council, who started off by having a map to show the projects that were set up during the pandemic that they didn't want to lose that connection with, nor for the community to lose that connection with. They then decided they wanted a map that showed environmental projects. So we created a second map for them. And they then decided they wanted one over this last winter that showed the warm spaces and welcome places for people. Now, all of the information is pulled from the same pool of information on the main UK map, but our maps can show just a niche, a section, a sector, an area, but they're all connected. I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. So it's multiple communities, multiple benefits, and potential huge impact. So what are I'm going to share 5 key things that we've learnt when we've been doing all of the work we've done over the last 13 years. We researched as to why other community maps had started and had failed. What were the pain points? What were the points at which they had failed? And also, why had community mapping got a bit of a bad name? Because projects had had big money invested into them and then they had failed, people seemed to think that community mapping wasn't going to work. Well, we've come at it from a different perspective. It's really important to keep it lean. The ones that we saw that had failed had big funding, had a team of people working, adding the information, or they had scraped the information from the Charities Commission and the information was out of date, wasn't accurate, didn't actually tell the people in the communities what help was provided. So we've done it in a way that actually organisations add the profile themselves. Each profile is like a mini website. Again, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But by doing it in this way, it keeps it lean. Now, it does take a little longer to get the maps set up, but longer term, they are cost effective, time effective, easier to manage and maintain, and they become something that is a legacy map because you can always see what's on there and the organisations are keeping it up to date. And we'll tell you about the traffic light system in a minute. Have a standard format. People in communities told us that when they were in crisis, they really struggled to understand in websites where to find the information that they was desperately seeking because every website was set out in a different format. So hence the fact that each of these profiles that organizations can set up on our maps is like a miniature website. It can be partially branded, but at the same time, the format of it is the same so that when people are searching for information, they know where to go. Filters. How many community directories are set up with filters that somebody has got to answer these pre-done questions and then they are shown the results only that these questions, after they've answered them, think they need to see. And that can stop people from finding the help that they really need. The next one was the traffic light system. We heard time and time again from people who said that they would find some information and only to discover that actually that project had ceased having funding and now no longer existed. So they thought that they had somewhere they could get some help and support or connect with others, only to discover it didn't exist anymore. So we haven't come across any other community mapping that does this. It doesn't mean it doesn't, but we use a unique traffic light system. And so each pinpoint on the map, sorry, excuse me. I apologise. I came down with a cold. My voice isn't usually this croaky. We've launched a traffic light system, a unique traffic light system. If a pinpoint on the map is green, it shows that the profile has been updated by the organisation in the last 6 months. If it's turquoise, it's 6 to 12 months. And if it's blue, it's over 12 months, giving people excuse me again, the confidence to know how accurate that information is. We also, through our research, discovered that so often charities, community groups and organisations would share bits of information that people in communities didn't really want to hear. I'm going to apologise again. Sorry. I thought I could get through without having a drink, maybe not. There are 5 key things that people want to know that quite often charities, organisations share the year they were founded, who their trustees are and things like that. But actually people, when they're seeking help or where to connect, they don't necessarily want to know that to start with. The 5 key things that they want to know are who they help, how they help, the difference they make, the help that that organisation needs, so volunteers maybe, and their contact details. They don't necessarily just want the contact details to be an email address, maybe an email address, but also maybe if they've got social media, share that as well. The number of people who were struggling with crisis or lack of confidence or self-esteem, who felt that they weren't worthy of getting in contact with these organisations. So they would like to go and have a look at their social media to see what was the voice they used, how welcoming were they, before they then had confidence to get in contact. So I love this quote from Joe Cox, the MP. I will not live in a country where thousands of people are living lonely lives, forgotten by the rest of us. Community mapping helps people to feel that they're not forgotten, because they suddenly discover the amazing organisations that exist within our communities where they would be welcome to join, to connect, to have help, support, to volunteer. There is so much more to community mapping. Now, whether you are a key decision maker or whether you are a charity thinking about what you want, what's the next program you're going to put on, or whether you are somebody who is seeking help or support or somewhere to connect, I think we'd all agree that decisions are easier for us when we can see the whole picture. And at the moment, because there is no central place where people can come to find all of this information about what is going on in their community, it is hard for people to make decisions. So when we can see the whole picture, everything is much easier. And that is what community mapping helps to do. Community mapping is about empowering people, about helping them to find the help, giving them choice, volunteering opportunities, reducing isolation. But also community mapping in this way allows people to go on their own personal journey. When a directory or a community map or a resource asks people specific questions before they are given results, you stop that person from being able to go on their personal journey. Some algorithm in the background is making a choice as to what they think is relevant. And actually, we don't know what is right for somebody. It may be that volunteering is right. It may be that a local community group, the local history group, a photography group, a knit and natter, a social lunch. It may be that the University of the Third Age. It may be that they want to volunteer. We do not know. And making that judgment for people by setting those algorithms can be damaging. So what we discovered, we started wanting to help people who were in crisis. Okay. And then we realized the more we did our research, that exactly the same data actually helps people whether they're in crisis, they're struggling with isolation, they're looking for volunteering, they're a community group or organization that's looking for another one to collaborate with, whether it's for social prescribing, whether it's for resource mapping, whether it's for key decision makers. For example, whether it's for the police wanting to have access to a map like this so that when their officers are out and answering something that may be more about mental health than actually something that's a crime, that they can point them in the direction of the support that exists in the community. And that goes for NHS and social services and government bodies as well. Think about the time spent in housing benefit offices, in the job centres, at the doctors, where actually if people could find this information easily, they were empowered to find it themselves. Or perhaps the person behind the desk who's supporting them could. Our maps, you can create lists of organizations. You can send them as a PDF. You can print them out if you want to. So people don't have to have that access to the internet themselves, but you can actually then print out or PDF out on the profiles that are just green, not the other ones. So you're only sending them up-to-date information. So it is the same data, and that's where community mapping can help. So we identified, no, we didn't identify there are 12 regions in the UK. There are 12 regions across the UK. We've identified 400 plus key areas. Organisations add their details once. They can also, if they cover a wider area, they can duplicate that master profile and show that they do their work in other areas as well, meaning they've only got to put the information on once. They can then duplicate it to other areas. When they update the master, it updates the others. There are also some other amazing ability things that we have, but we're a short time this morning, but please do ask questions on it. But say somebody goes on a map down in Cornwall, but their crisis point is actually they have a relative up in Scotland who is struggling, and actually the issue that it's causing for the person in Cornwall is anxiety and stress because they're feeling they can't help the person up in Scotland, their relative in Scotland. They can actually scroll all the way up to Scotland, update it, and then see the results that are up in that area as well. They can then create a list, or they can send links to those profiles to that person in that area. So there are multiple access points. Our maps can be dropped into any website. Literally, they can focus on a specific area, a niche. So there are so many things that can be done with the maps. Now, you can also have maps that you have dropped into the back end of your system. So say it was social prescribing, and say you only wanted those profiles to be shown to your team and not on the national maps. You can do that as well with our maps, so they can be on an internal system, or you can choose which ones that are on the public maps that you want your internal team to be able to see. Okay, every profile is like a miniature website. It can be semi-branded. It has a standard profile layout. Organizations can use it instead of a website. Okay, so smaller community organizations can use it instead of that. They're encouraged to share those 5 key things that I said to you earlier. But also, I think one thing I haven't talked about is some organizations may need to hide their address. So it may be that they're a smaller community organization that is run from somebody's home. That is also possible to do. They can set their address to hidden, move their pinpoint to show that they're in an area, but then still be visible on the map. So they don't have to have a physical location to be on the map. So here are some examples of some organisations. So Survivors Network, Bristol Grandparents Support, Suited and Booted. Suited and Booted is the most amazing organisation. They help provide suitable interview clothing and coaching to vulnerable and unemployed men. You know, you have the Mid Devon Messenger, that's a talking newspaper. You have West White's Men in Sheds. You have Diverse Abilities. The Nest, supporting women and girls through the major life transitions of menstruation, pregnancy, birth and menopause. Win on Waste. So you can have environmental. You know, the range of groups and organisations is wide-ranging. And each of those, so for an older person, that tax help, that support to take away that stress and everything else. I adore Gift of a Wedding for people who are living with life-limiting conditions, and they help to provide them a wedding free. I mean, it's just incredible. Some of the stories are amazing. Now, this is where I said that we've got some pages on here which can be quite full and maybe a little bit cluttered. Please do ask to have this presentation afterwards so you can see more of these. We've got 3 pages like this, 2 more at the end, but it gives you an idea of every single one of these is based on a real story that we've heard or one of our team has heard, but they're set up with just pictures from Canva, okay, and names, so everything's been you know, you can't identify anybody specifically, but community mappings is for everybody in every community, no matter what their reason is. The maps, as I've said, can be like a map out of the box that you can drop into any website. You could get in contact with us and say, you know, we want one that's on environmental projects to cover this area. We can do that. We want one. So for example, we've got the Devon Local Nature Partnership, which just shows environmental projects. Down in Plymouth, we've got the Plymouth Food Aid Network that shows food aid projects. With that one, we've done some unique work. We've managed to link an Excel sheet to that map, and this has gone into their own website. And that Excel sheet then helps those organisations to track the number of food packages and meals that they've given out each week, so that there's a track record, and it's building this database of information. It's a password protected one, but it's actually saved them an enormous amount of time in the work that the person was doing and having to chase up everything. And now there's an Excel sheet that everybody can add their data into themselves. We've also done a piece of work with them where they can have somebody key within the community who knows and connects with all of these organisations, who has permissions by the organisations. If they see that the organisation hasn't updated their data recently, they can actually go in and they can update that information. They've been given permissions through, you know, a whole system online where permissions can be given to different team members to be able to access and update. So that helps them to keep information up to date. We work in a way that is co-production. We will never know your community the way that you know your community, but we've got great tech for community mapping. And the benefits of co-production in this way and utilising community mapping in this way, for you not having to build tech to have it done, you are saving all of that money and that funding. You are also becoming part of a community of connected area-based community maps that builds this picture across the whole country. We've got about 3,000 organisations on the map at the moment. So you're part of that building it. It also means that the people in your community there are no borders. There are no limitations. They can move to just outside, because actually the community group they want to connect with is just over the border of your area. And that can be good for them. So it's improved quality of services, increased efficiency, greater community engagement, strengthened relationships, and focused strategic innovation. These are all benefits of co-producing in this way, of you utilizing our community maps and our technology and being part of that. Because every time we create an upgrade, or say an organization from an area says to us, we would like this bit of tech, when we build that bit of tech, we make it available to everybody across the board. We never charge the highest rates on doing the tech, because that's what we do, but we always make it beneficial to everybody. So we're nearly there. Most of these are now going to be pictures. Communities are stronger when they work together. So when we talked about co-production just now, is we provide the tech, and then we provide some tools and resources to help you do that. We run workshops. We run workshops that can support your team members in ways to help to get the information out about the maps, how to encourage people to come onto the maps. We run free workshops so that people can see how they can add their profile to the map. We've created a free guides hub so that people can actually have step-by-step information about how they can add a profile, how they can update it, how they can create a list, how they can share permissions so that they can do it, how if somebody's left their team, they can transfer the ownership of that profile to somebody else. We've got really good systems in place, and they are getting better all of the time. So community maps also help with the impact that supports the UN SDGs. And many organisations, councils, community organisations are wanting to do their part to do with the UN SDGs. So is aDoddle to get involved? I'm going to stop talking in just a minute, and please open up the floor to Q&A. And again, as I say, if you don't want to ask your question now, when we finish the live session, you can come out and ask questions in the virtual lounge. So encourage local organisations to create a profile on the map. It is totally free for them to do it. Spread the word about the maps. If you're a local business, sponsor a community map, an area map. There, for every area-based community map, there are opportunities for up to 4 businesses to sponsor a map, and we will never put more than one type of business. So if it's a solicitor's firm, whatever it is, you would be the only solicitor's firm sponsoring that area map. Okay, so we wouldn't have 4. So become a partner of a map. If you are a community organisation, a volunteer network, become a partner with us. Help to get the word out in your area and build it. We've had some amazing success in areas like Weston-super-Mare recently with working with Volunteer Action North Somerset. And that map is building so well, but also in Stockport, an organisation that just said that when people were joining their membership of that organisation, they gave them 3 things to do when they became a member, and one of them was to create a free profile on aDoddle. And they did, and so they've been building that map and the information on that map in their area. If you are a grant funder, if you are a counsellor, if you are somebody who is giving out funds to organisations in your community, you can totally, in a free way, help us to build the maps. Just make it that part of the stipulation that they are either applying or that they've been successful with getting some grant funding, make it part of that stipulation that they add a profile to the map, and that they keep it up to date while they have got their funding in place. That isn't costing you anything. That is one line of text in your application form, or in the form that is when they've got their money. Make it that the funds will be released once they've got their profile on the map, or make it part of the application process, and that it's something that will be reviewed as part of that application process. If you are council, NHS, police, even if you're a corporate business, then let's have a word, because we now have licenses. You can license that map so that you can use it in your housing benefit office, in local libraries, police, so that your teams can access it and everything else. That is how we fund the maps, through sponsorships and through those licenses. That is how we manage to make it a totally free service for people and communities who are, the people who we need to help and support with everything that's going on in our communities at the moment. Now, I am going to say we had an organisation recently that said it to our face. Well, why do we need to pay when you make it free for people? Well, if people don't pay those license fees, if people don't become a sponsor of a map, then we won't have the funding to run and it won't exist for people. And it is through amazing businesses that support us through sponsorship and through organizations that have maps. That is how we fund it and how we make it free. So recently, we employed an external consultant to tell us about some of the value and impact for people and communities, and the benefits and value of charities and community groups and organizations creating a free profile. And again, this is small text, so if you want the slides, please do ask. So they get a free profile which can be used as a mini website. No need to purchase a domain name, no cost for hosting their profile, no website development time needed. It's a simple profile creation. You just add your information to a form, and we do the whizzy wonder work and make it into a miniature website in all the stuff in the back. You can have an easy master profile. You can duplicate it for multiple locations of the same project. You can have direct contact through your profile. So there's a button there where people can get in contact directly with your organization. It hides your email address. They can get in contact through that. You don't need to have a branded email address then. Ability for partial branding, access to free profile header templates in Canva. If a profile is green, we do free marketing for you. You might become a featured profile of the week. Increased opportunity to be found by those who need or want help, but also by those who want to help you. And access to free support workshops and guides. The estimated value that this external consultant gave to us was that for each profile, it was a value of between £600 and £1,600 per year, depending if they were using it instead of a website, not having website development. So let's go on that lowest figure. And we've said that we've got 3,000 organisations on the map at the moment. That is a value to the community and charity sector of £1.8 million a year. That's not including the social value that's provided for the fact that people are being able to find the help and support that they need when they need it. Now, we know that, there are a lot more organisations that need to go on the map. It is a growing resource. However, every time an organisation adds themselves, that resource is growing and it is there for people. So we're going to go on to questions now. But while you're thinking of any questions, or if we're seeing if there are any questions there, I'm going to show you a couple of other slides, and I'll leave them up. Here's another one about personas. I've got another one after that, and then a quote, and then the contact details. So I'll change those. So, are there any questions from anybody? No, please do ask. Adi, are there any questions in the Q&A box?
No, there's nothing at the moment, I'm afraid.
Nothing at the moment. Okay, fine, fantastic. I never know which buttons I need to be pressing here to be able to see all the different bits and pieces. So, have any of you got any questions that you would like to ask, or shall I go through a few questions that we get asked quite regularly? Okay. Adi, I'll let you interrupt me if somebody comes through with a question.
I will do. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much. Okay, so people say to us, and I hope I said it just now, is how much does it cost for a charity, community group or organisation to add a profile? It is totally free for them to add a profile on there. It is totally free for them to access the workshops that we provide that help them to make the most of their profile. It is totally free if their profile is green and complete for us to then share it through our social media. So helping to raise awareness of what is going on in different communities. So we share free every day through our different social media channels. We also share featured profiles of the week. We also share awareness days, helping people to know what's going on across the country. And with those awareness days, we will feature different organisations that maybe are in alignment with those awareness days as well. So another question we get asked is about what is the cost of an annual license? We're actually just reviewing this at the moment, and we're having some work done by some solicitors firms to get the licensing agreements into place. We believe that they will be between about £7,000 and £10,000 a year, depending on the size of the organisation and the area that you are covering. Now, let's take as an example a local council. And let's think about the fact that maybe you're giving out money through different benefits, through housing benefit and council tax benefit. If you think about it, possibly only 2 people need to have help who are unemployed, need to find that help and support to help them to go back into work or to go into work. And you've saved that money. Everything else is a bonus. If you've got the access to be able to use these for either your team behind, the screens to be able to access information or to be able to share it to people or to save that time with people because you can give them information, you're saving that time there as well. Let's think about then, we would like to think that within 5 years, that the majority of council offices, housing benefit offices, libraries, doctors' surgeries, etc., have a touch screen or similar within their organisations. At the moment, a very easy way of helping people to have access if they have smartphones, put a QR code up on the wall. We, down in the area where we're based, we have in fact, let's go to the next slide in a minute, because I don't know if you can see, if I hold this up, we have bookmarks that we put in the local library, and then they have a QR code on the back to help people to find them. And bookmarks are an amazing way, because if somebody has gone to the local library, it means that they might be getting a book, they might be looking for something, but a bookmark is kept, whereas an A5 leaflet quite often gets scrunched up and put in the bin after a few days, but a bookmark gets kept by people. So we found that really works. Last one, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And partnerships are where 2 or more organizations work together, take the best of what they do. And by working together, I can't see the rest of the quote, unfortunately. I've got a little bit across it, but together they can create exponential impact. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen there. I would really love to be able to actually answer specific questions. We're 5 minutes before the amount of time that we said we would take on this. I could share my screen and actually show you the maps. Rather than a presentation and talking you to death with a presentation. So let's go share screen, and let's go a window, and this one. Hopefully I've got this right, and I'm hoping that you'll now be able to see this. Here's the home page. This is going to change in the next couple of weeks, just slightly, just because we think that we can put some better information on here. But the principle of it is the same. These organizations that you can see scrolling in this scroll bar here, any organization that is green on the map will be shown here. If they're not green, they don't get shown, but there's different ways. So we've got food banks, libraries, we've got a walking festival, we've got Involve, we've got Merlin's Magic Wand, a children's charity. You've got MenCat, Brave Bold Drama, which is an amazing organization within a community. You've got Mind. So now I've got different pages open here because you never know what internet connection is going to be like. So you can come and see the area base. So we've got 12 regions in the UK. So by coming up to the search and going to the area community maps here, you can come and see the 12 different regions, and then you can click on one of them. Now I'm going to pretend we've clicked on the Southwest. And then you can come here and you can see all of the different area-based community maps. This logo is just slightly different because we work in conjunction with Bournemouth University here. And you can see the different area maps. Let's see whether we can click on Weston-super-Mare actually. Here you are. You can see that Weston-super-Mare is getting more and more organisations. Let's have a look and see what this one is. Big Well, investing in Wales residents. Ageing Well. Let's move this one. It's a football club, so an opportunity for young people. This one, 7 a la Parade. In fact, we were just looking at this one this morning, and actually they create some warm spaces. They also do things like litter picking and things like that. Now, what you can do is any of these where this turquoise is, you can click on here, and it brings up the profile in the area map. Can you see this heart here? This is where I was saying about lists and creating lists. If this was one that you really liked and you're signed into your account, anybody can make an account, by the way. You can then save this to your list. So you could create lists of things for community connection, mental health, homelessness, you name it. You can do it. So you can easily add to the list there. So then this will tell you a little bit about them and then what they do. And so each one of these is like a link. So that's showing you that. So there's the Exeter community map. This is recently updated projects, so you can see what the most recently updated ones. So you go to search, recently updated projects. Begin your search. Let's go, let me go Bristol. Okay, so click on there. Now you can put a radius on there. You can put filters on if you want to. I'm not going to do that for the moment, just to show you what comes up. So here's the map coming up slowly. It says it's working on it. You can see all of these pinpoints here. Wherever there is purple, that means there's more than one in there. So if I go there, this is back in Weston-super-Mare again. So you get to see. So again, you can just go in and you can see. Now you can see them here. You're seeing in map view. You can also come here and you can see the results in list view. And we're seeing them here in the last updated. Okay, so you'll see the green ones first. So you'll get to see the different organisations there. Here's an example of a profile to show you it's like a miniature website. Bristol Grandparents Support Group. So they've added a banner, which we provide free templates for. They've chosen a main branding colour. They've added their logo, which categories they are under. Then they've added to the overview. So it's who they help, then what they do, information if they want volunteering, sharing some media and sharing some additional information. And why I love this is they've actually shared links to other organisations that could potentially help people. Let's show you another one, you'll see. So again, exactly the same layout, but how different it looks by choosing a different branding colour. Okay, and there's that one there. And then we have a free guides hub. So Adi, could I potentially ask you if you could put 2 things in the chat? Could you put the hello@aDoddle email address in and also the link to the guides hub so that people can have a look?
Yes.
The guides hub. Fantastic. The guides hub will actually walk you through every step of adding a profile. So you literally come and click in here, adding your profile, part 1, click here. It will literally take you through step by step, and it will show you in words, but also in pictures. So it helps with the accessibility. We are going to add videos. We just haven't got to doing that yet. I'm just looking to see if we have got any other questions. We haven't. So we're just 1 minute past. So Adi and I are going to end this event bit now, but we're going to jump out to the virtual lounge. If you have any questions, if you want to get in contact, please do. We are here. And we're happy to answer any questions. I love being challenged with questions because, as I say, it helps to make the service better for everybody. If you're interested in having a map or being a partner on a map or sponsoring a map, please just get in contact. Thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Thank you.